Hey everyone. So right now, everyone's attention is on Iran, on Lebanon, and that's understandable. And there's this sense that Gaza is just kind of stuck. Diplomatically, that's true. The Trump 20-point plan, the board of peace, right? Who's going to disarm Hamas? We've talked about all that. But I saw a clip on from Channel 14 cable news in Israel, and it blew me away because it shows something completely different about what's actually happening on the ground in Gaza day by day right now. And stick around for the end of it because there's a personal moment near the end of this clip that hit me really hard, harder than almost anything that I've reacted to in quite some time. Now the clip is in Hebrew, so I'm going to be doing a voiceover, so I'll try to do as good a job as I possibly can here with the voiceover, rather than play the Hebrew or just read a transcript. Here we go, because you want to see the visuals here as well. So hi, how are you doing? Thank you for having me out here in your sector. My pleasure. We are right at the southern tip of the Philadelphia route, the very edge of the Gaza Strip, close enough that you can actually make out the residents of the Strip in the distance from here. And he says, we're actually standing at what's called the yellow line zone. What that means is that this is a buffer area kept clear of civilian communities, there for the protection of our forces. Specifically, we're in a stretch where there are no communities at all. We're right at the edge of the Philadelphia route. Okay, let me explain. So this clip is from Channel 14, as I said. It's kind of the equivalent of Fox in America in some ways. It's like more conservative, more right-wing. The interviewer is Lital Shemesh, a well-known Israeli journalist. So she's out at the edge of the Philadelphia corridor, and she's talking to a battalion commander who is stationed there. Now let's pull up a map just so we remember what the Philadelphia corridor is. So the Philadelphia corridor is the strip running along the Gaza-Egypt border. Okay, it's been one of the most contested pieces of land in this whole war. Strategically, it became an imperative for Israel, to take it because it was Hamas's main smuggling route. There are massive tunnels running underneath the Gaza-Egypt border, and that's where all the weapons and all the raw materials and everything that the Hamas needed that was being smuggled in over the years was going through there, and it became a strategic necessity for Israel to shut that down and to hold Philadelphia, to hold that border between Egypt and Gaza. And of course, Rafah, you might remember, very controversial about Israel going into Rafah, and that was why, because it was this Hamas stronghold right on the Egypt border with a lot of tunnels into Egypt, and Israel took Rafah, and that was an important turning point in the war. So that's where they are, and they're at the yellow line. Take a look at the yellow line on the map. The yellow line is the area that Israel withdrew to in phase 1 of the 20-point plan. Okay, so that's where they are in this clip. Okay, so let's pull this down, get the clip back there, and we will continue. Okay, here we go. And so behind the headlines about ceasefires and the Peace Council, while Israel and the world's focus is elsewhere, the IDF keeps operating on the ground in Rafah and Khan Yunis, and it is reshaping the security space here. Part of this work is building out the barrier system. It's complex, several defense layers. Right now, I'm building part of an obstacle in the ground meant to slow the enemy down and make it harder for them to reach our forces for any future activity here. The pastoral-looking coastline out on the horizon is deceiving. Hamas has lost a lot of its strength, but it's still trying to reorganize. There we go. Okay, that's where we're up to in this. So this is the part I think a lot of people miss. There's an assumption out there that things have quieted down in Gaza, and he's telling you flat out that that is not the reality on the ground. This is the kind of inside detail you're not going to get from mainstream media. They're building these barriers. There's construction happening on the Israeli side, building these barriers so that they have layers of defense. And there's a lot of activity. But wait for this next. I mean, and now you really get we're going to go a little deeper into what that activity looks like. Okay, let's resume the clip. People back home might feel like things have calmed down in Gaza. That's really not the case, she's saying. Aren't we constantly running into new underground tunnel networks, even having confrontations with the enemy? He says, we do see Hamas trying to reorganize. with whatever territory they've got left and whatever resources they have left. But look at the territory we've taken from them. It's enormous, and it's slowly choking them. We're carrying out all kinds of operations inside this buffer zone, chipping away at what's left of this organization day after day. In recent months, we've found even more underground infrastructure near the supply routes and the bases Hamas spent years building. This work is far from finished. We're dismantling it systematically, meter by meter. Every bit of it, of infrastructure we destroy, sends a clear message to the other side, and it also helps us locate more of it. This continues until we can say with total certainty that there's nothing left. There we go. I got a little bit ahead of it. So you notice how matter-of-fact he is about all this. He's not, he's just describing the daily grind. This is his day-to-day work as a battalion commander down in Gaza. They're not sitting on their hands. They're going tunnel after tunnel, weapons depots. They're finding infrastructure. They're dismantling and destroying tunnels meter by meter. And there's like hundreds and hundreds of meters. When I'm talking about hundreds of kilometers, there's thousands and thousands of meters. They're just going methodically, destroying the infrastructure. So think about that for a second. While the Board of Peace and the Americans and the diplomats are all still kind of working through how to get to the next phase of the 20-point plan, Israel is not waiting around for the process to play out. Now, let me pull back the camera and think back. When Trump announces the 20-point plan, Israel's attitude in the war was, we are out to destroy Hamas. And we're like, no, we're going to stop. We're going to have a peace treaty, and we're going to get them to lay down their weapons, and we're going to move forward with this 20-point plan. And Israel's attitude was kind of like, okay, if you're saying that that's what's going to happen, we're on board, but that is what we're agreeing to. And of course, it never is happening. But Israel's position was very clear at the time that we're not going to just sit around and let the disarming of Hamas not happen. If we see that this process is not leading to the disarming of Hamas, we're going to do it ourselves. And that's what's actually happening now. That's the reason I made this video. That's what blew me away about this. I was like, wait a second. The war in Gaza is not over. They are encountering the enemy. They're destroying infrastructure. They're proceeding according to a plan, day after day, making progress, destroying what's left of Hamas. They're choking them out. So the destruction of Hamas, the disarming of Hamas, is a project. It's a long, slow, methodical project. But Israel's not waiting around for the world or the International Stabilization Force or the Board of Peace or foreign troops or anything like that. Israel's doing it. That's amazing. Okay, so, and has nothing to do, regardless of the diplomacy or Israel's like, listen, we are going to destroy Hamas. We're not going to have this enemy rebuild themselves. And he mentions there that they're constantly trying to reconstitute themselves. We're not going to stand for it. We're not going to let it happen. Okay, now he's going to go deeper into this. Here we go. He says, Khan Yunis is still a major center of activity too. After the big operations there, we're continuing targeted raids against terror cells, seizing weapons, trying to stop Hamas from rebuilding its military capability. Overall, Rafah isn't what it used to be. It's not the same brigade we fought here before. That brigade brought serious destruction on itself. Alongside the fighting here, our forces are also handling one of the most sensitive parts of this mission, overseeing the entry of humanitarian aid into the Strip. Trucks keep coming in under physical inspection to try to stop weapons from being smuggled in alongside aid meant for civilians. I'm not the one securing the aid trucks. That's not our job, but we are responsible for making sure the screening process happens properly. There's professional inspection in place, and we secure the people doing that inspection. The goal is making sure nothing that isn't supposed to get into Gaza gets in. Okay. So I want to flag this carefully here because it's very precise language. What he's saying is that his unit secures the aid trucks. He's not saying that they secure the aid trucks. They're not providing security for the aid trucks. They're saying that they're making sure that the screening process happens properly. That distinction matters, especially with how often stuff gets twisted in the media, what Israel's doing, what they're not doing. Israel is not in the business of providing. Israel's not going along with the charade that we're providing humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza and it's to their benefit. Because, of course they need the aid, but this aid is going directly into the hands of Hamas. Hamas is using it. They're weaponizing it to retain control over the people. They're using it to enrich themselves. They're using the resources from it to recruit and to rebuild. So Israel is not participating in giving the aid. And that's why he's very clear there. He's saying, listen, I'm not here. I'm not helping them give truckloads of goods to Hamas. Israel's not going to participate in that. We want to dismantle Hamas, and that is the only way forward to have a peaceful Gaza Strip, to have any type of future there. So we're not going to participate in this charade where Hamas gets enriched, but we're providing security for the people who are doing the checking of the trucks, because we're not going to allow we're not going to allow in weapons. We're not going to allow in things that should not be allowed into the Gaza Strip. And therefore, the people who are doing those checks to make sure that nothing gets in that shouldn't get in, that's who we're here to protect. Very interesting distinction. Okay, let's finish up the clip. Actually, this isn't even the last. Clip. Okay, so we have two more. Pieces of this. Here we go. So now she says, even with the focus elsewhere right now, the goal is the same: deal with Hamas fully, dismantle it, disarm it. Look, as a fighting force, we're always ready. He now says, as a fighting force, we're always ready, no matter where we're called. When we were called to Lebanon, we moved within 2 weeks, and then we came back down here. So yeah, we're ready. And through all of this, the soldiers and commanders have been away from their home for 2 years now, far from their families. Wow. Okay, this sets up something very important. This is a guy who's been moved around the entire map of this war. He's been in Lebanon, back down south to Gaza, now here, all over the place. And we're about to hear about the toll that takes. Okay, listen to this. This is, these are family men. He says, I ran with my kids to the shelter, meaning he was home on leave. Here, let me pause this for a second. What he's now describing is that he was home on leave. And while he was home, like he was in between tours of reserve duty. Reservists are given time off to go to be with their families intermittently. And there was an air raid siren, and they had to run to the bomb shelter. So he's describing running with his small children to the bomb shelter, this battalion commander. So he says, I ran with my kids to the shelter. He says, I think it was the first time I've ever done that with my kids. And my daughter almost, lost it in her pants. He says she was so scared. I remember getting back to the base afterwards, and I just sat there. I looked at myself and thought, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but it hit me what half the country deals with all the time. I have 4 children. The youngest was born right on October 19th, 2023, right after I left home. My wife was 9 months pregnant at the time. The toll, I won't lie, is enormous, but it comes back to what I said. When you understand what we're doing, there's strength in that. There's power in that. You have to make space for home. You have to know when those moments matter, and you have to know how to give strength back. What strengthens us, the soldiers, more than anything is the home front. Out here at the edge of Philadelphia, with our communities behind us and the ruins of Rafah ahead, the message from the commanders on the ground stays clear. He says, I always look back before I cross the border. I do it every time. It's the space between me and the community that will welcome me home. That's something burned into me from being held captive back in October. Okay, pull the clip down. Hope you got all that. I hope that went well in terms of the doing the voiceover. Let's pull the clip down now. We don't need it anymore. So this really hit me hard. And let me just say on a personal note, I have multiple children who've served in combat situations all over this war. 2 sons, a daughter, a son-in-law. My son-in-law is a more senior commander, and he is my son-in-law and my daughter have a son, my grandson, who's 2 years old. He was born during this war, and my son-in-law has spent a lot of this war in service. So this hit me really hard on a personal level. This guy that we're talking to here has spent the last few years defending Israel. And he goes home on leave, and he's running to a bomb shelter with his little daughter. And he feels like ashamed that he didn't understand what the civilians were living with every day. I mean, this is a very morally serious person. Anyway, this clip, it really stuck with me. But here's the big takeaway. The big takeaway is really that this is what real progress against Hamas actually looks like. Methodical work on the ground day after day. And, this is where things stand in Gaza. Israel's not sitting on its hands. Israel's taking over more and more of the Gaza Strip, cleaning it up, getting out the terror infrastructure. The work of dismantling Hamas, the work of destroying Hamas is actually happening. Okay, it's happening, like I said, day by day, meter by meter. They're progressing. Hamas is being degraded. They're not waiting around for the dilly-dallying of all these countries and and the Turks getting involved and the Qataris have an interest and everyone wants, and the Board of Peace is meeting in Egypt to discuss plans and Jared Kushner has a PowerPoint presentation about what Gaza is going to look like. But who's going to disarm Hamas? The answer is Israel is doing it. Israel is not going to allow this danger, this existential danger to Israel to rebuild itself in the Gaza Strip. They're not going to allow Hamas to continue. Like I said before, when they agreed to the 20-point plan all the way back in September, the idea was that Israel was getting what was being told, don't worry, we have a plan and it involves the disarming of Hamas and all these countries are signed on. And Trump said, oh yeah, I've got 13 different countries who are willing to go in and disarm Hamas. And Israel's attitude was, fine, you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But if we see it's not happening, we are not going to give up on this goal of destroying Hamas. And there you go. There are things happening. Don't think that the Gaza situation is stagnant or that there's no war going on down there. It is still very much, very much an active arena. All right. I hope this was helpful. I hope you found it interesting. I hope it worked. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this whole voiceover situation and how it went, or if you'd prefer I just read a transcript. I'm not sure how to do it, but I really wanted you to see the visuals in this one also. I'd really like some feedback. I'd appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and God bless.